known as this one. Oops. I need to come down. Okay, so welcome. This is lesson 12, and today we're going to talk about the holiday traditions that are celebrated in December. So as you can see, I've got a few. Thank you. Oh, fun and games. All right, thank you, Dave. So anyway, what I looked into this week is because we have to have different traditions this year. Most of us are used to having family come on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and we've done this forever. We've done it probably with our grandparents, and it's a little unsettling. So what I started to decide, our program has a motto of own your future. And I started to say to myself, well, I don't have to do things the way I've always done them. And I want you to be thinking about this when Bob and I show you some of the traditions that people have. There are religious traditions that I'm not going to really zero in on. I want you to be thinking of the cultural things that we do. So, if we could go to the whiteboard right off, I'll give you a little example of what I'm talking about. So I'm going to start, I put it right on the Advent thing. I'm going to start with this table. And I am going to first of all talk about Advent. And in some of our churches, we have what are called Advent wreaths, but there are also Advent calendars. And I want to show you the Advent wreath and the way it's lit. And it starts on the first Sunday. It goes for 4 Sundays before Christmas. So this year it would have started in November actually because of when Christmas is this year. So it is related to Christmas in a way. But if you think of Advent calendars, those are fun, where children get a toy or a candy and they get to open a little door on each day. They get a little gift. That's something that a lot of families get, an Advent calendar. There are normally 3 purple candles in a Christmas Advent wreath, and a pink one that it stands for love, or if you're doing a religious one, for Mary, and that sort of thing. The second thing on this table is also our Neville traditional December, well, I don't even know what to call it. We start making shortbread right after Thanksgiving, because that's always been a part of our Christmas. So I'm going to talk about the Neville Christmas, which is not on the sheet. Over on the other table, Bob is going to help me talk about Kwanzaa and Hanukkah, and these are 2 cultural holidays. Kwanzaa is the first one you'll see when I get there, and Bob's going to help me. And this one happens December 26th through January 1st, and it is a cultural celebration of African Americans and the country of Africa and things like that. There's certain colors that are important. There are 7 candles. One is the black one, that is the central one, and there's then 3 red and 3 green, and we'll go into those. And then the other holiday I want to talk about is Hanukkah. And when I was a kid, I always lit the menorah for my next door neighbors. Oops, down here. And in all of these, what brings them together is that they're traditional things that were usually done in the home. And and there's a menorah with Hanukkah. Again, candles are being lit. It lasts for 8 days. And then there's the dreidel game, and the gelt is chocolate covered in gold foil. I know a lot about Hanukkah because jelly donuts that we used to make at our Neville's Donut Shop were part of the actual Hanukkah holidays, and we were kosher. We had a special little card that the rabbi came in and checked us out and told us we were kosher. So we saw a lot of our friends who were Jewish during Hanukkah every year. So let me get back to the table and we'll just go through a few of these. So the first one is Advent. What I did find out when I went to get supplies for this series that we're doing is that there are no candles that I could find that are actual candles that I call candles. Everything else is in jars, and most of us have Yankee candles or tea lights, this sort of thing. So I apologize to everyone. I could only get white candles that I had purchased last year. But again, remember, there's usually a Christmas candle in the middle of an Advent wreath. There's usually fir boughs that are on the outside. And then there are 3 purple candles and 1 pink one. That's usually what's seen in an Advent wreath. And most times when you have any kind of lighting of a wreath, it's the middle candle is lit first, and then it lights 1 candle. That's the first Sunday of Advent. Then it's put out after certain readings are said. Usually in our church, we have children, if we can get them, they enjoy memorizing a certain passage, and they get to light the candle also. Children with fire, and they get, but it makes them feel more adult, I think, when they have to memorize something and they light the candle. But then the next week you would light again from the middle to the one you lit that week, and then another one. So but at the end of Advent, you've got all 5 candles lit. So that is Advent. Advent itself means waiting for something. And so that's the hardest part about some of these Christmas traditions. And I've noticed a few changes in these traditional holiday practices that we have, because I think we have started to look at other people's way of celebrating, and it's kind of fun to add to something else. So as you can see, this is kind of my Advent wreath for my home. It's not perfect. It doesn't look like the church one that we had. We're not going to church on our Sundays because of the COVID protocols. But you could make your own wreath at home, and that's something I think that brings out your own creativity, and you can add to it or take away from it any way you want. The rules kind of are up to you. Own your own future, and that's part of what we do at our program. We tell you, traditions are fine. Keep the ones that mean something to you, and change and add to them if something else matters to you. So I think most of us have heard the word Advent, or have had an Advent calendar, or understand it goes from the beginning of December through till the 25th, when normally that's when we celebrate Jesus' birth. Over here, I want to show you our Neville traditions. And of course, I'm going to add to it, which many people are spending all of December looking for gifts from Santa, or talking to Santa, or arranging the gifts to be delivered by Santa. And most of us in the 2020 understand that Santa very often comes with a reindeer, with a sleigh drawn by reindeer, and brings gifts. And there's no expectation that because you got a gift from Santa, you give Santa anything, except most of us will leave a cookie out or two for Santa. Well, the Neville family always made shortbread, and shortbread is a Scottish tradition, and our shortbread always has a thistle on it because our family is from Scotland. And so these little Santa ornament, this is a Santa puzzle my son John made for us, and stand-up puzzle. And here's Santa with his cookies, right? So the idea of a cookie at Christmas for Santa as a gift is something that we always made sure we spend time making our shortbread cookies, that sort of thing. So for us and for everybody, Santa is a major part of Christmas. And this year may be harder for Santa to get to us because of all of the protocols and situations. So the idea of, I guess the idea I want to put across is, if you worked with your children and came up with your own traditional idea of what you could do in your house while you're waiting for Santa to come on Christmas, I think most of the kids are home in a hybrid situation, and it's been a little hard for the kids and the parents. But if you do have access to the internet, there's a lot of very interesting things that you can do as crafts. If you've run out of wanting to be the teacher so much, think about the different things you could make. You definitely could maybe, and you probably have done this, but make it a Christmas tradition from now on, that maybe you make cupcakes, or you're doing something with Play-Doh or something like that. Make it be a Christmas tradition that you have created something with your children, which is also a good learning experience. The main thing for me, I think, whichever tradition that you're going to follow that we're talking about, is that you try to do it with somebody. Record it if you can. Share it with others. We need to keep in contact with each other, and to me, that's what the holidays really represent. It's a gift, and it's given freely, where you appreciate that we are all family, right? So on the other table, we have a couple of other activities, not activities, but traditions. And Bob, I think what I'll talk about first is the Kwanzaa activities that or traditions. So in Kwanzaa, this was can you get Bob? So with Kwanzaa, Kwanzaa started actually in 1966, and it hasn't been around forever, but it was something that celebrates family, community, and culture. It goes from December 26th to January 1st. And yes, that's a can of corn in front of Bob. One of the things that Kwanzaa always has is like dried ears of corn. And I just basically put it there because corn for the African American people is very important. It's a major part of their diet, but they have it at the Kwanzaa tradition to represent children. So where you have just one kernel of corn, you have children that are represented by how much an ear of corn has all these, it becomes many, many children. So the idea of something going on after you're there is part of Kwanzaa. So let me just put this up first to show you what it would normally look like. Hang on, Bob. Sorry, in the control room, I want to show this. So that's what I'm talking about. They have the corn, and then they also put any other crops. It's sort of like a Thanksgiving situation, and but they always have the 3 red candles, then the black, then the 3 green. And if so, that's a point I would make. The and in Kwanzaa, the candle colors are very important. And what I want to do is talk a little bit about my own Kwanzaa. If you could go back over to Bob. So I did not get what there. You can see the candles, I believe, pretty well. There's 3 red, and then there's the black one, and the 3 green ones are next to it. And what I'd like to tell you is what they stand for. So the middle candle, which is black, and again, this is like my homemade Canera. Canera is the candle holder. I did not have a black candle. I found some little actually shot glasses that we had, and I melted some black crayons to make the black candle. And you know, make it at home and make it the best you can, and I do it with respect for the tradition. So the middle candle on a Kwanzaa is the black one, and it stands for unity. It's just, and the whole thing is based on 7 principles. So it lasts for 7 days, or yes, 7 days. The first one, though, is unity, and it's for family, community, but not only family, but for nation and for all the races. So it's saying everybody get together, be unified for what we can do in the future. The first red one is self-determination, and that stands for know who you are and know what you're capable of. Have respect for yourself. And then you look outward and have respect for others. And you can, and the belief is you can create things for others. And yes, you can speak for others. Some cultures have said, well, a certain race cannot write for another race. Kwanzaa actually says if they haven't got the platform to speak, you can speak for others if you know what they're going through and support them. So that I like that idea of self-determination, which becomes self-help for others too, based on what your skills and things are. The first green one on this side is it stands for collective work and responsibility, which is another good concept because when everybody works together and builds together, we can definitely help each other. You know, that's the whole thing. And the Kwanzaa is lit like the Advent. You light from the black, and then the first one would be that first red one. The next time it would be the green. Then you'd go back and you'd light the red and the green. So, I mean, as you go through the days, you connect to each thing. When these are, and I interrupted myself. I'm sorry. The next red one is cooperative economics. And it's basically saying shop at home, you know, shop locally. But if you know someone who has a friend, who is a friend who has a store, think of your community. This is where you live. If you can get something at home, or, you know, support your other friends in your economics even. And that way you're all working together in the same community. The next one that's green coming in is purpose. It's everybody thinks, you think of yourself, but the main thing is think of working with others in a purpose that is worthwhile. And Bob and I have been through quite a year and with the help of our other teachers and staff, and great things are happening. And I think that's a really good concept. And the last red one is creativity, to do always as much as you can in the way we can in order to leave our community more beautiful and beneficial than we inherited it. So again, Kwanzaa to me, and I've really learned a lot about it trying to research it for you. I would love to know someone who actually does this on a yearly basis, and they could certainly teach me a lot. All of these candles that I've told you, the American, the English name of them, they all have an African name that go with them, and I will not say them because I really don't know the pronunciation. But the last one, I think it was red one or green, maybe green, was faith. So it also has the idea of faith. Believe with all your heart in our people, our parents, our teachers, our leaders, and the righteousness and victory of our struggle. So it is talking about everyone, but in this time period of Black Lives Matter, I think it's something that you might want to share with your children and your family, because this is a cultural celebration for these people who started it in 1966. Think of where you were in 1966. I had just graduated from high school, and there was a great time of civil unrest and everything, and I can see the need for something like this. But it is a tradition that is celebrated, and as I say, my husband made my Canara for me, and I really appreciated it because I wanted to pay respect to this tradition that is something I've never been a part of. When I did graduate in '66, one of the things that became clear to me is that when I went up to MCLA and I had a class up there, we had to come up with a lesson after I went through the courses and was going to become a teacher. We had to have our own lesson. And I remember, having friends around me on Hall Street and that were Jewish and from other races and things like that. I always had friends and they were from different religions and everything else. And it never occurred to me not to be part of their traditions, whether they went to a synagogue or I was invited, whether they went to a Roman Catholic Mass on Christmas Eve, I went. So I've been very lucky to be very multicultural all my life. And the lesson I made in my student teaching class had to do with bread. Funny that I then married a baker, but I'm just thinking of that now. But the idea that I got all different kinds of bread, and I brought them into my class that I was student teaching in, and I said, I got rye bread, I got French bread, things like that. And I said to the children in the class, okay, we're all going to have a sandwich. What kind of bread would you like? And the conflict that I wanted to create is I actually said to a student I knew very well, these were college students, but when they came up, they said, I'll have a ham on rye. And I said, well, are you Jewish? This is Jewish rye. And they said, well, no. And I said, well, do you think you should be eating Jewish rye bread? And I know this sounds a little strange, but then we all got the message that you don't have to be French to eat French bread or Italian bread or rye bread. We can benefit if we accept the wonderful things from every culture. So that, to me, is what Kwanzaa is a lot about. And it's celebrating a certain culture, but it's also sharing that tradition. So I don't see a problem with it. And if you do, I'd love to hear it from you. But with Kwanzaa, as I say, the other thing is to put around your house different things that you have that art pieces or things that remind you of Africa. And I think it's a wonderful tradition. I'm gonna do it this year myself. The next thing that I wanted to add is Hanukkah. Hanukkah has a menorah. As I say, the Kwanzaa one is called Kinara. With Hanukkah, it's called the Festival of Lights, and there is a menorah, and that one lasts for 8 days. The other thing that I knew growing up with the Kaplans is that you got a gift every day. so that was something that it's supposed to talk about the miracle of the oil that would have only lasted for one day, and it lasted for the 8 days. So there's various things that happen as you light the menorah. The other part of Hanukkah is a dreidel game, and dreidels are little tops that have special symbols on them. And I don't know if they can see it. I'll put this on the whiteboard over here, Joe. Maybe that's too small. I think so. Yeah. Okay. So with the dreidels, you all have what is called gelt. If you can find chocolate wrapped in gold, that's the gelt that you use to play these things. The dreidel is a wooden top, and you spin it, and because of the way it's made, it has 4 flat sides on it. And on the gimel side, that's the symbol for gimel, you take everything, everybody puts in a chocolate piece, and then the first one who spins, if they get gimel, they take them all, they win them. If you get the noon symbol, you do nothing, you just all have to put another chocolate in. If you get the hay symbol, you take half of what's there, and if you get the shin one, you put one in. So that's what we have over there with the gold coins and things like that. What was told on this particular website that I was showing, they actually show you how to make a paper top. It's a folding game and folding instructions, so that's something that your children could make if you wanted to play a game, say, at the holidays. So I do have a little story that I'd like to read for Hanukkah, and let me read that now. So this story is, again, and I must say, a lot of this, let's remember, is geared for children. And we want our children to have good values. So whether we're talking about the Kwanzaa or the Advent or the Hanukkah or your own family traditions, it's a way to make sure the future is better than what we've seen, perhaps, in the last year. So this story, and it's good to get a book for your children. If you're thinking of what kind of a Christmas present to give them, I would say getting them something about another culture's traditions is a great idea. But this is one, the book I'm going to read is The Night Before Hanukkah, and it's by Natasha Wing and illustrated by Amy Woomer. 'Twas the night before 8 days of Hanukkah. Families were prepping from New York to Santa Monica. The children soon nestled all snug in their beds, while visions of chocolate gelt danced in their heads. The very next evening, our family gathered round. The Festival of Lights began right after sundown. Our menorah was set out by the window with care. It's an heirloom passed down from our great-grandma Claire. And I got to show you some of these pictures. Okay. Actually, I'll come over here. Dad put on his yarmulke, pinned it down on his hair. Then Mom lit the shamash candle after saying the first prayer. The flames, how they flickered, our faces cast in light. We sang Rock of Ages while the candles burned bright. Then we opened our presents. Oh wow, earrings for me, and a building set for my brother, who's 3. The next night we played dreidel. That's a top that you spin with 4 Hebrew letters, Nun, He, Gimel, and Shin. We each tossed in a coin made of chocolate called gelt. I snuck one and ate it before it could melt. It was my turn to go. If it lands on Gimel, I win. But Shin turned up, so I put another coin in. Our dad won that game when our coins all ran out, but he divvied up his winnings. Sharing is what it's all about. On the 3rd night of Hanukkah, after the candles were aflame, Dad read the story of Jewish heroes. Maccabee was their name. Let's take back our temple, the Maccabees fled with a shout. The Jewish people fought and won. They kicked the enemy out. Then they cleaned their holy temple and prepared to kindle the light. But the lamp had so little oil, it could burn for only one night. So they prayed for divine help, and help came indeed. The lamp stayed lit for 8 days. God had met their need. Before their wondering eyes, a miracle took place, the glory of Hanukkah for all Jews to embrace. On the 4th night, we ate latkes, deep-fried potato pancakes. On the 5th night, jelly donuts, the ones my Uncle Dan makes. On the 6th night, we visited cousins. It's a family tradition. The aunts made gravy and biscuit. Yummy smells filled the kitchen. On the 7th night, to share our happy Hanukkah mood, we brought presents for others, and lots of holiday food. On the 8th and last night, Mom had bad news to report. I don't know how this happened, but we're one candle short. Don't worry, I said as I pulled a drawer handle. We can use this one, I cried, a birthday cake candle. Mom placed it in the menorah, then lit them all, left to right. Dad reminded us that our faith, they burned bright. Here it is. As the last candles burned like they had for 8 nights, we wished a happy Hanukkah to all, the festival of lights. And I actually will show you this last page in this book. This author, Natasha Wing, and you may not be able to see it very close, and that's okay. But she does a lot of different books for all sorts of other cultures, other traditions that are, habits that we all have for the different holidays. And they're really good children's books. I like the illustrations, and this is the cover. Natasha Wing's The Night Before Hanukkah. Okay. So I guess what Bob and I want to say is that this year has been a rough year, whether you're talking about the schools or businesses. We've had to really change what we've held dear and wanted to follow, things we sort of had our feet on the ground with. Now everything seems to be moving and upset, and I think the main thing that I like, and I didn't mention this, I'm back to the Advent candle here, but the 4 things that these candles represent are hope, faith, love, and peace. And I think that's what we wish everybody during this time of Christmas, and especially hope, that you don't give up. Things will get better. We are resilient people, and we want to also mention a few things that are coming up in our program over the next couple of weeks. On the 23rd will be another one. You'll see next week. You'll see the Gift of the Magi on this cable on cable channel is what I'm trying to say, 1302. It's always on Wednesdays, and it also shows a couple of other times during the week. So next week will be The Gift of the Magi by O. Henry. I think you'll enjoy that. On the 23rd, though, we're thinking of having a Zoom where anyone who would like to can take part. We'll make sure, if you want to be part of a Zoom for the 23rd, you can contact us, and Bob's going to tell us. It's on the screen at the end. It's Northern Berkshire AE at. Okay, you'll see it on the screen. So, or you can call us at our program. If you want to be part of a Zoom, where you can call, you'll be on camera and you'll be able to talk to us. We'd like to just talk to everybody and see how you're all doing, because we do care about the community that we live in here. And I think that would be an interesting thing to do for the 23rd of December. And then on December 30th, we're working on talking to our community partners that help make this program, really operate. And Bob, could you talk a little bit about that? Oh, you want to come over? Here, I'll give you my, sorry.
Hi, I'm going to duck down just a little bit because the camera's higher, so
You want a chair?
we'll get it. No, that's okay. So on the 30th, we're working on an idea to share some information with the community, with those of you who are watching the show, about what our program is doing, some new things that are coming up in the spring, and to highlight some of the other community organizations that we work with and that also can provide assistance during this challenging time that we're all living in. As Linda had said during the show today, there's a lot of different changes. We don't see our families maybe as much as we would like to. We don't get out of our homes as much as we would like. So a lot of the resources that you may be able to access in the past, you're not sure how to do that. So it's an opportunity to be able to talk about being able to access those services, and as well to kind of think about what maybe a New Year's resolution can be, what some of the opportunities that are available for you during this unique time that we're all living in to engage with the community in some way. As Linda's mentioned, we're looking at using Zoom. We've done that with our classes since March of this year. So it's given students an opportunity to come together 1 or 2 days a week. You at least get a chance to see other people, to have a conversation as part of the lesson, to have a chance to check in to see what's going on, to talk to other people, so that you feel connected to the community. And I think that's the biggest thing that we're all facing, is creating that community sense that we're used to having this time of year. A lot of the normal celebrations in our local communities are not happening this year. They're happening virtually, so it's not that same connection. So we're looking at different ways to connect with people. So, I'd like to encourage you to continue to watch the show and participate with us, and join us in our virtual classes to, reach out to the program if you're interested in more information on engaging with some of our classes, some of our other programs that are happening during the year. And Linda, do you have anything else? A little different as we switch off this year.
That's good. What's that? Okay. Okay, and just as a final thought, it's you that make our program important. Our students, we learn as much from our students as we teach, I think, because in truth, life is what it is, and you are life is worth celebrating. So again, thank you for watching our program. Any ideas on what you would like to learn? There's new programs coming up, and we'll also have a program on this channel about the new things that we're going to be offering. We realize that some of the things going forward in 2021 will require our students to have more digital knowledge. Whenever you're working in, you're going to need to use a computer. And a lot of us have cell phones, but we don't always have computer skills. So we are going to be opening up a new part of our program where you can get some more digital skills. So I do want to wish everybody Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa. And yes, Christmas will come for those that are anxiously awaiting and going through the Advent season. So we'll see you next week with O. Henry and the Gift of the Magi. Thanks for stopping in.